Hello, everybody, and welcome to a bonus edition of Fantasy NBA Today, the Bruski Breakdown 30-team extravaganza, sports ethos presentation presented by our great partners at FanDuel. We're going to go through all 30 teams here. Week 5's in the books, and we're now 20% of the way through the season. And if you're a new listener and you don't know, what you're about to hear is the result of an entire 3 days worth of work where I basically just watch basketball games and break down stats the entire weekend. And we get to this point and it's got all sorts of goodies. We will try to cover any breaking news if it happens during the show, but this is a rapid fire 30-team show. So we're going to jump right into it. We start with the teams that played Saturday and don't play Sunday, or didn't play Sunday, I should say, and they don't play today. And then we work through all the way until the teams that will play tonight. We'll get you guys locked in for tonight's slate. So let's start with the Washington at Chicago game from over the weekend. As far as injuries go, Washington Wizards rookie guard Trey Johnson expected to miss a handful of weeks with a strained left hip flexor. That news actually just hit the wire, and that takes out one of my favorite, well, not favorite, that's going a little too far, but one of my early season pickups / hopes to see if he could possibly have some value. Trey Johnson, a great offensive game, defensive question mark. Now his hip is a question mark, and he will be out a few weeks. So any interest there, and he had kind of fallen off the radar a few weeks ago, any interest there is now put on pause. As far as the rest of the team goes, Chris Middleton is probable for tonight's game. Marvin Bagley, questionable. And Alexander Sarr is pretty much your best bet on this team for fantasy value. He's been a top 40 guy along the way. Keyshawn George has settled into a top 50 to 75 range, and he's one of the B150 darlings. He's doing just fine. No slowing down there. Bilal Coulibaly is our new intrigue. Top 150 to 160 in the last 3 games since returning. 25 minutes per game, 10 points, 4 boards, 3 assists in 8 games out of 16 this season. He is struggling a little bit, and what I would like to see him do is get a little bit more consistent, and then I think he's got about top 100 upside. CJ McCollum just outside of the top 150 despite his 29 minutes per game this season, and I don't think it's getting any better. Let's get into the teams that played Sunday, and they do not play tonight. We'll stop in Philadelphia. Tyrese Maxey, on the injury report with a questionable tag. He has a shoulder injury. We'll keep a close eye on that. He's been a top 3 to 4 fantasy play this season. VJ Edgecombe, also questionable, left calf tightness. Joel Embiid, doubtful right knee. Kelly Oubre, out for a while. When I saw that injury, it looked pretty bad. He's got about a 2-week news check-in, is how I would put it. I don't know that he's coming back in 2 weeks. I think we're going to find out about him in 2 weeks. And then Adem Bona, out with a right ankle sprain, and we've talked a lot about both he and Andre Drummond this season. And I think what you guys want to do there is handcuff these 2 players, because Joel Embiid probably, if I had to guess, has maybe 25, 30 games in him this season. That's my over-under just off the top of my head there. That means Drummond's going to get as much as he can handle. And I kind of think he's handling too much already. Had a big game over the weekend, and he's just going to keep playing and playing well. We got top 85 to 110 numbers over his last 14 games and 26 minutes per game. Top 50 to 65 numbers over the last 9 games. And this is where he's sort of settled in, playing 31 minutes a game with 11 points, 13 boards. The 6 combined cash counting stats over this span is a little bit rich, but that's where he's at. And 57% from the field and 70% from the foul line on just 1.9 attempts. The foul shooting's been minimized for Andre Drummond, and he has played really, really well this season. It's great to see what they're doing with him in Philadelphia. And my only concern is that I don't think he can handle this many minutes, which is when Adem Bona comes in and has the early round upside he showed last season. And it is fair to say we don't know if that's going to be there for him or not this year, as they are playing to win versus last year they were playing to tank. And this team's got a long way to go. And with all of the various injury concerns up and down the lineup, we'll see how it shakes out for Adem Bona, but the handcuff is really strong there. Quentin Grimes, top 80 to 110, a little bit of a slide over the last week or so. Nothing to be concerned about. He's locked and loaded for a nice season the rest of the way, another B150 darling. And then Kelly Oubre, aside from this injury, has been at about a top 80 number this season. And so if you're trying to gauge, should you get in on a Kelly Oubre ad as he hits the wire? I've been a little bit aggressive, and I just posted my waiver wire column over at sportsethos.com. For those of you who are not subscribers, the first 5 are free. The other 32 are for those with an NBA fantasy pass, so go check that out. But Oubre popped up on a few wires for me this weekend. I'm not actually optimistic that he's back soon, but I will say that he's, if these hyperextensions, the knee issues that you see out there in this realm. I mean, we've seen Giannis return and play after one that looked pretty gross. With Oubre's, it was middle of the road, and again, the 2-week timetable. We were just trying to measure: can we get a top 80 player, and can we get them within 3 to 4 weeks? Would be, I think, a good case scenario, and I think that would be a wise pickup. There is risk, though, that I think it might be more like 6 weeks. But we'll see how it goes. And you do have Paul George back. And speaking of Paul George, just top 160 to 190 over his 3 games. His last one was a little bit slow, averaging 22 minutes per game, 13 points, 1.7 triples, 5 boards, 4 assists, and 2 combined defensive stats. Bad percentages there. And then you got VJ Edgecombe. That sell high advice from the first few weeks is very prescient now. He's a top 110 to 115 value on the season, despite 37 minutes per game, 15 points, 2 triple, 6 boards, 4 assists, almost 2 combined defensive stats. It's the bad percentages that are really causing him trouble. If you don't care about percentages, then I think he's been settling into more of a mid-round look. But again, percentages are part of the game, and we always got to watch out for those. And I do think there will be an associated bump back up for VJ Edgecombe, probably due to some injury news down the road. Whoever gets hit, and Edgecombe will be back there to pick it back up. That said, there are some concerning things here. This minute number is really, really high. That's going to take a toll on him throughout the year. And we want him to be nice and fresh for whenever the injury openings start rolling in. And right now, this team's a little too stacked for him to be consistent in the mid-round range. So we love VJ Edgecombe, but a little bit of a lull here, probably an opportunity to buy low. And I would certainly do that. I would certainly consider a top 75 player to go get VJ Edgecombe. It might feel a little bit bad for a couple weeks, but then I think after that, you're going to be on to something. And especially if this season spins south, which, by the way, if anything happens to Andre Drummond and Adem Bona is not ready to give big minutes, that would be one way that the season could spin south. Also, if Paul George gets hurt while Kelly Oubre is hurt, that would be one thing. Then, of course, if anything happens with Tyrese Maxey, it's all over for them in Philly. Let's check out the Clippers at Cleveland game. You had Kawhi Leonard return. There was a question about whether he banged knees and he was going to be out. He played the rest of the game, something that we'll watch closely. Obviously, Derek Jones is out for about a month. Bogdan Bogdanovic, questionable left hip contusion, and he's been in a bit of a lull since his fast start. Really straightforward team. James Harden producing at a top 7 to 11 level. Ivica Zubac has steadily improved throughout the season to get to his top 50 number. And John Collins at top 200 value. It's not cutting it. We've talked about John Collins a lot in a lot of different shows. And today, in the earlier show, talked about how I cut him pretty much across the board in high stakes leagues. I had finally had both the combination of enough depth and enough I don't care about John Collins anymore thoughts to be able to drop him and not look back. And really, I think what we're looking at here, Kawhi and James Harden really don't have a plan for getting him integrated into the offense. And with Zubac camping out and getting all of the rebounds, that's hurt John Collins. And in addition to that, the drop coverage for Zubac has had an effect on Collins where he's not participating in the defensive game, at least in terms of stats. And that altogether has made this value so bad. He's going to have to do something to change things up in order to get to the next rung of fantasy value. What we've seen with Collins in the past, he either has a switch that's on or off. Last year in Utah, it was on. Previous seasons, not so much. What we need for John Collins to be valuable this season is for that switch to go back on. And I'm not going to be betting on it anytime soon. Orlando at Boston was a fun game. Paolo Banchero, not yet day-to-day. He's talking like he's close, but we're still not getting a lot of specifics. So until then, you're going to see a lot of Desmond Bane. You're going to see a lot of this team functioning a little bit more healthily in the box score. Wendell Carter, questionable. Goga Bitadze, questionable. Jalen Suggs, probable for their next game. So we'll get some more injury reporting there. But Desmond Bane, he climbed inside of the top 100 to 125 on the season. he's still got 5% dips from the field and from deep. The rebounds and assists are a little bit down. Blocks are slightly down. Steals finally starting to catch up, but down overall. If he's able to get these bounce backs, and I would like to see more, but if he's able to just get these numbers back, and head back to last season, he's probably looking at top 75 to 90 production. If he can get to top 50 to 60, that's exactly where we want him to be. He might not hit the B150 number that I would have liked heading into the season, and there's ways he can get there, but I think the top 50 to 60 would be considered a win going forward, and we just need to see all of these associated numbers catch up. I would like to see a much bigger steals number out of this guy, and I also like to see him take control of the offense when Paolo Banchero gets back, but we'll see how that goes. Hang on one second here, guys. Okay, thank you very much for that pause. It's almost as if doing multiple shows in a day has taken a toll on my throat. Jalen Suggs has only played in 13 of 18 games this season. That's not great, but you know what's been great? His value. Top 45 to 65 on the season in just 24 minutes per game. 52% shooting from the field, 90% from the foul line, 4.9 cash counters. These are not sustainable numbers, but it's good to know that Jalen Suggs has pop when he plays. We just got to get him in the lineup every single night. On the Boston side, we've got injuries with Neemias Queta. Left last night's game with an ankle injury. It almost seemed like it had a knee component to it. He's questionable for the next one. It didn't look great. I would say if I had to throw a dart, probably about a week out, but we'll see exactly what's going on there. Jaylen Brown powering through this efficiency issue. He's hitting his shots. His teammates aren't hitting theirs. He's hitting 50% of his shots on the season. He's hanging around the top 50 to 80 range. 3.4 turnovers per game, not helping him in 9-cat formats. Derek White pushing his value back up into the top 40 to 60 range despite 35% of his shots from the field. That's not great, but at least he's playing defense. 2.9 combined defensive stats to go with shooting numbers that are down about 8 to 10%, just like everybody else on the team. With nearly double the 2-point shots this season over last, and a 20%, almost 20% drop on 2-point shooting. This is outlier central. Now, the defensive numbers are going to come back, and I think he's going to take less 2-point shots while making more of them. And overall, we'll see this number back up into the 40+% range. But a lot of that relies on Jaylen Brown and this team as a whole finding some sort of consistency. And it's really hard to do that with players going in and out of the lineup. Peyton Pritchard found his shot over the last 6 games. That's good. He's been in a top 45 to 65 range with 47% shooting from the field, giving you a 19, 5, and 5 line, just under 4 triples. It's kind of what you were thinking about when you were banking on Peyton Pritchard on draft day. I don't think he's going to shoot this well. It brings him back into the top 100 on the season. He just needs more volume from Jaylen Brown. You'll notice a lot of things come back to Jaylen Brown in Boston. Anthony Simons on the right side of the ledger this past week, top 60 to 75 value, 27 minutes, 19 points, all the numbers. 67% from the field. It's not sustainable. He's still just a top 175 guy on the year, 25 minutes per game. I think you got to move him the minute he has a big line. And if at some point in time it's not going great, you need to move on, you have my blessing. I don't think we're going to see a top 75 season for him. And then Josh Minot got 20 minutes. He did the thing where he puts up a bunch of numbers, 16 points, 7 boards, 2 triples, 1 block, made practically all of his shots, didn't turn it over at all. He's been struggling this season, top 150 to 190 value, just 19 minutes per game. He started at center, which is whatever, he was the tallest guy on the floor at half with Queta going out. And before you get excited, maybe they'll do it again. The next 3 teams on the docket are Cleveland, Houston, and some other team with big defenders. So it's not going to be easy for Minot to start at center, and they're probably just going to go with Luke Garza and my old Memphis guy that I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm sure we'll get there. I'm sure the coffee will get into my stomach here as I'm talking repeatedly. Charlotte at Atlanta, injuries, LaMelo Ball, probable right ankle. Brandon Miller, probable left shoulder. Ryan Kalkbrenner, questionable for the next game with his ankle injury. Pretty straightforward team right now. Miles Bridges giving you late early round value. LaMelo Ball dragged down by 39% shooting from the field, and a general bad attitude, in my opinion. Con Knipple, top 50 to 60 over the last 4 games. Over the season, top 8 over the last 4 games, 26.5 points, 5.5 triples, 5.5 boards, 3 assists over the last 4 games. Con Knipple, everybody. And the thing about it, as I said in a few shows over the course of last week, everybody who's a fantasy producer is kind of got a nice ramp here because they play Ryan Kalkbrenner a ton, top 60 to 70 in 25 minutes per game. They play Moussa Diabate, late round value in his 23 minutes per game. And between those 2 guys and Sion James, those 3 have played a third of the minutes for the Charlotte Hornets this season. Their usage is practically nothing. So everybody's well positioned. Brandon Miller, 21 points in his first game back with 4 cash counters, so good news there. And even if Bridges, Ball, Knipple, and Brandon Miller and Colin Sexton are all playing, there's enough basketballs to go around for this group. So whatever they're going to do with percentages and all the different things, that's up in the air. And Con Knipple's not going to be a first-round fantasy play all season. If he finished within the top 4 rounds, that might actually be a possibility because LaMelo Ball easily could be injured, and that alone would be enough to do it there for Con Knipple. So a lot of different ways for Knipple to get his value. I don't think it's going to be that good all season long, but I would not be selling high with Con Knipple, and I would not be selling high with the rest of them. I think this is going to be a good fantasy squad the rest of the way. Atlanta, we've got Kristaps Porzingis probable for the next game. Trae Young coming back fairly soon here. So you might get ahead of some Trae Young speculation. That's Xavier Tillman on my name forget earlier, which happens. Just like you forget Xavier Tillman. Like, how do you do that? Well, I just did it. But that's the thing that happened. Luke Kennard, questionable with his left hip. Jalen Johnson's been a top 10 producer over the last, 2-3 weeks. He's been crazy good. Top 10 on the season, actually. 22 points, half a triple, 10 boards, 7 assists, two defensive stats, 80% from the foul line. This is amazing sell high territory, but I wouldn't go too crazy. I would probably keep that within a top 25 range if I was going to try to get out from under some of the Jalen Johnson risk. We've seen this multiple times before, and he's kind of pulled the football away from us. But I wouldn't don't get too cute with this, because at some point in time, he's going to have to play a lot of games, and it might be this season. And Onyeka Okongwu also in the sell high posture. He's got a top 50 to 60 number on the season. You got Trae Young coming back, and Onyeka looking fairly indestructible. I think you could probably get some sell high value out of that. Dyson Daniels, he's improved to the top 65 realm. He's afraid to shoot, and it's probably because he's only hitting 16% of his 3-point shots. His steals are down 3.0 to 2.3. That'll probably change. I don't know what's going on with Dyson Daniels. Maybe he's got some sort of an injury we don't know about. The fact that he doesn't want to shoot, and that there's a regression that's occurred in his offensive gameplay at large, that's not great for his value. I still think the top 50 numbers are pretty likely here. The whole thing's been so messy that you could still buy low on Dyson Daniels. My question is when he has his bounce back, when the shots start falling. I don't think he's going to hit 16% of his threes all year. Let's say he hits 25, and he starts to shoot a little bit more. Does this represent a step forward? Does he get some momentum from it? Or is it just kind of a 1-2 week occurrence and it's back down into the top 65 to 70? There's name value here that probably drives that buy low to a pretty bad place, but it's been bad enough where I think you could buy low. Toss a top 75 player out there, toss a top 60 player out there, and you probably got a chance at guaranteed profit. And who knows, maybe he'll start shooting again, and maybe he'll actually have something of the top 25 value that a lot of folks wanted to see him have this season. The rest of the squad, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, he's been sitting on a solid top 40 run over the last few weeks. He's hitting half his shots in that span. He's hitting from the foul line. He's making big plays, had a huge steal in last night's game. He's up to top 75 on the season on a per game basis. The good shooting and the foul line, it's a good indicator for him. Like this is all good news for him. And maybe it's a little bit high for this season. Maybe there's a potential for him to start chucking if maybe this team falls apart and he's the last guy standing. And I think that would actually be bad for his value. But by and large, this is good. I do think you can sell high here. I probably don't go anywhere over top or under top 75 and a player to return. And you could probably aim for top 60 with the way these numbers have gone lately. That said, I think people are hip to the fact that Trae Young is coming back, so maybe a little tougher than I thought. Vit Krejci is pretty much drop territory. He's a top 200 guy, in case you were wondering what that hot streak was all about. Portland played Oklahoma City over the weekend. Oklahoma City doesn't play tonight, so we'll talk about them right now. Jalen Williams just sort of hanging around. I don't know. Maybe he'll play basketball. We'll see. It feels like he's day-to-day, but I just don't have anything to suggest that this is stronger than that. So we'll just call him hanging around. Aaron Wiggins doubtful for the next game, left a doctor. Isaiah Hartenstein, top 50 producer on the season. I could rattle off all the stats. I'll just tell you to sell high. As soon as Williams gets back, and I think this team gets a little bit more crowded, I don't think you're going to see Isaiah Hartenstein with his big stat line. I think it's going to swing to other players. AJ Mitchell, while it is time to sell high, I have a really hard time telling you guys to just outright sell high or drop a guy who's returned top 30 value on the season by totals. AJ Mitchell, a massive difference maker for folks. I'm glad we jumped on that ad as fast as humanly possible. A guy that didn't even get drafted in 30 deep, I don't think. Just a massive season so far. He's done his damage in 28 minutes per game. I think I'm just holding here. I don't think I'm parting with anything outside of the top 75 range, because I think AJ Mitchell can just see his way through this. It's going to have some blips and some bumps. Maybe you see some top 125, top 150 numbers. I just don't think it's going away. And I don't think you're going to get anything great for AJ Mitchell. I think everybody's scared and treating him like a probable drop. I'm just going to wait this thing out and get back to the top 75 as players go in and out of the lineup. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, Cason Wallace is showing up in drop discussion. He's had about a top 200 2-week stretch, top 40 to 65 by totals this season. I just don't think you can drop that no matter how ugly it gets. If that number gets worse, we'll let you know. But you're not dropping a top 40 producer in a 9-cat league. You're just not. And you're not doing it even a top 65, even if you're in a head-to-head league. You're just not going to do this. These numbers are not easy to come by, and they do count. Los Angeles Lakers played the Utah Jazz. We got the Ayton injury. He left Sunday's game with a knee contusion. Not a ton of info on it right now, and I don't know that you're running out to pick up anybody in Los Angeles. It's the LeBron, it's the Luka, it's the Austin Reeves show. Each of those guys, Doncic, top 5 or 6 player this season. He's just fine. Austin Reeves, top 10 to 15. They're fine. LeBron, slow start. It is what it is. 14 points, 4.5 boards, 10 assists. All that's okay-ish. The defensive stats and the triples are down. It's 33% from the foul line on 6 total attempts. I mean, small sample size stuff. We'll see where LeBron settles in. It is a question about where he will settle in. Is he going to be a top 30 guy? It's going to be tough. Is it going to be top 40? Maybe that's the likely number. 50 and 60 start to represent some bad news for folks who took a plunge and drafted LeBron knowing he would miss the first month of the season. That was available in a lot of drafts. I did it a decent amount. We'll see if it pays off. As long as he's in the top 60, it probably pays off. If he starts sliding top 75 and beneath and starts taking games off, that will have been a little bit of a mess. But by and large, you'll have these 3 out there. Jackson Hayes, just top 300 value in 17 minutes per game this season. So I don't think you're running out to grab him. If Ayton's out and you need a 1-game push, Jackson Hayes might get you some numbers, but by and large, he's not been able to do that this season. Marcus Smart, Rui Hachimura, and Jake LaRavia, they're all on the top 150 on the season, and they're all in for some tough times here. I think they're going to be top 200 the rest of the way. San Antonio took on the Phoenix Suns, and we've got Victor Wembanyama obviously out for at least another week or two. Dylan Harper's getting back soon. He's been way too available on waiver wires. I wrote about him in the column. Stephon Castle's behind him, also not somebody who should be available on waivers in most leagues. De'Aaron Fox, 8 games of top 35 to 50 value. If his season is really going to sing, he's going to need to do it with the steals. When he was in Sacramento during his best season, two per game. Right now he's at 1.3. So let's see exactly where that number goes before we start assigning his long-term value this season. 35 to 50 would be a win, especially given where he was drafted, but I want to see him in the top 20 to 40 range. I think that would be a great outcome for all of us here. The rest of the Spurs crew, we've been talking about him for almost over a week now. Harrison Barnes over Julian pardon me, Julian Champagny, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson. You can kind of mix and match the Keldon Johnson and Julian Champagny and Harrison Barnes crew. Vassell probably, I don't know that he deserves added mention over those three, but he's the guy that's rostered the most. Vassell probably has the most upside, also a bit of an injury risk, also most likely to have late round value. Harrison Barnes can get you top 75 in a roto format really quick. Keldon Johnson struggles with the stats set, but he's got a lot of pop for a head-to-head setting, and it could easily be Champagny, who's the most valuable out of all four of them when it's all said and done. So you got 4 targets for the next 2 to 3 weeks there. Luke Cornett, I think he's probably more valuable with Victor Wembanyama rather than without him. There's so many high-low passes that occur to Cornett during the course of a game with those two on the floor that I think it solidifies his points production. And what you've been seeing out of Cornett is it's all over the board and generally not good lately. So I think he needs that little extra push when on the floor, at least in terms of consistency. We've seen Cornett do all sorts of things throughout his career. He's been valuable at times. He's been a drop quite a bit. It's feast or famine with him, and actually some consistency would be nice. So that does it for the teams that are not playing today. So let's get into tonight's action here. Also, if you guys are new and you're listening to this for the first time, you're watching it on, say, Twitter, make sure you get on over to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, and we're going to be pushing a lot of different stuff out on all the other social platforms. But you want to get connected in as many places as possible. So tonight, Cleveland at Toronto. Jared Allen, questionable. Actually, I think he got ruled out since I made my notes here. Jalen Tyson, he's back. He's played already. He's back from his concussion. A lot of folks have kind of discounted him, so I wanted to bring him up. Craig Porter, doubtful. Sam Merrill, questionable. Darius Garland, I believe, is out already. And Lonzo Ball is probable. Okay, Donovan Mitchell, top 5 to 6 on the season here. He has been great this season. He is absolutely gunning for it and has played most games. So for Donovan Mitchell, you are extremely happy with what you got there, and your hope is just that he can stay healthy. Evan Mobley is the name that's really kind of on the tip of my tongue right now. And it's interesting. He was a huge upside guy as the season started here, and he cannot hit a free throw to save his life. He missed all 4 of his attempts in his last game, and his overall rank is just top 75 to 100 right now. And this is really bad stuff. Like you spent a second round pick to get him, and this is what you're ending up with. That's some tough stuff. The defensive numbers are fine. The shooting is down. It's almost 10% down from the field on more volume. It's a 10% dip from the foul line on more volume. This is not going to cut it. I think there's some buy low potential here, but because his name was so big and because of his draft status, I don't know that there's like an actual angle here to get in on Evan Mobley. If you want to get in here on a buy low, I think you just need to highlight how lowly he is ranked and let that do the heavy lifting. And I would probably give a 3rd round value to get Evan Mobley. I am concerned, though. I mean, if he had a bad summer and he didn't get his free throw shooting in, or he's just got a problem there and it's going to be this bad and he's going to continue getting to the line like this is going to be bad. It's going to result in a 4th or a 5th round finish for Evan Mobley, and that is not what people signed up for. As for Toronto, RJ Barrett is out with his knee sprain, and Jakob Poeltl is probable. The RJ Barrett absence opens everything up for Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, Emmanuel Quickly. Like, this is just kind of easy, right? Like, Scotty Barnes still cruising with the back end of the round 1 value. That's great. He's still shooting way over baseline. 6% jumps from the field over last season, 3% over his best season, a 13% jump from deep compared to last season, and 6% over the better from the foul line over last season. Everything's up, right? And it sounds like sell high, and it probably is sell high. You could probably settle on a round 2 guy with maybe a little less variance and maybe a little less injury risk and feel pretty good about it. But maybe this is his breakout season. He's got 3.1 defensive stats this year compared to 2.4 last season. The best season's 2.8 in the past. So This number's coming back, but maybe not so much. And I would not go any lower than round 2 on a sell high deal there. Brandon Ingram, top 50. He just is in his own lane, and I don't even know if the RJ Barrett stuff hits him as much. But Emmanuel quickly, the bounce back has hit hard over the last 3 weeks. And this RJ Barrett news, if this is going to continue, Emmanuel quickly is just going to go off. 10 games of top 25 value. He's playing 32 minutes. He's got his 18 points. He's got his full stat line. It pushes him up into the top 50 range on the season after a very late round start. We were kind of pushing that buy low, and I don't know if we pushed it hard enough, but it hit, and it's beautiful. So don't get bashful there. Emmanuel quickly should settle into a top 40 production the rest of the season. Yeah, maybe Barrett comes back within a couple games. Who knows? But he's also a trade guy, and it feels like the pendulum has swung back to quickly. He's got his role. Maybe he disappears a little bit from time to time. I just don't think you're going to see a major disappearance for him. Top 75 would be the floor for Emmanuel quickly, and it's been bad the last couple years. And that bad start opened up that buy low window real big. Detroit plays Indiana tonight, so it's the big one. We'll be watching the Dennis Jenkins stuff. There's injury good news on the Detroit front. Jaden Ivey returned. He played 15 minutes, had a decent little 10.2 assists, 1 steal, 1 triple stat line. Tobias Harris returned from his injury. He went for 18 and 5 and 4. So on the right track for him. Karis LeVert is probable in this one. Asar Thompson and Cade Cunningham are getting healthier. Isaiah Stewart's getting some distance on some missed games. So this is a full house. Dennis Jenkins, people were giving him like the goodbye treatment. They were, burying Dennis Jenkins. And I get it. Like 13 minutes, it feels like this is over. Hell, he might get knocked out of the rotation at some point. I'm not so worried about this. His full season sample, he's a top 150 guy in just 21 minutes per game. 11 points, 1.3 triples, 2 boards, 4.3 assists, 1.5 steals, 51% shooting from the field, and 69% from the foul line. Okay, so what is he, a bad foul shooter? No. He shot 78.6% at Iona in his second to last season in college, and he shot 85% at St. John's on just 2 attempts per game. So if he shoots normal free throws in this span that he's been on the court in the NBA this season, that's probably a top 135 number just to throw a dart. My question is, how quickly can he get back up to 21 minutes per game? And what we saw last game was a fully healthy minutes dispersion. Duncan Robinson got 28 minutes, hit 5 of 6 shots. Detroit cruised. It was one of those things where everything was just hitting for these guys. I don't think they were looking to replace Duncan Robinson while they were rolling. He could be the guy whose minutes come back. In the grand scheme of things, Duncan could probably lose about 4 to 8 minutes. Ivy probably goes from 15 to 25 to 28. Karis LeVert, he might add another 5 to 10. When you do all of that math, there's about 11 to 15 minutes that need to go bye-bye in this rotation. That might actually come at the expense of Dennis Jenkins. So he sits anywhere from 0 to however many minutes this algorithm wants to give him. And it's going to take injuries for all this to happen. Okay, this sounds bad, right? But Dennis Jenkins has talent, and I believe that he's going to be an ingredient that they're going to want to rely on as the season goes on. They want to see if he's capable for the playoffs. So they'll probably play Jaden Ivey and try to get him going, increase his trade value. In the meantime, can we get the 13 minutes from Jenkins? Can we get 20 minutes at the expense of some other players? That's what I'm watching for, because if he gets the 20 minutes, I think we can get the late round value. I probably have about a week or 2 of patience with Dennis Jenkins regardless. Like, give him zeros. He sits on my bench. I'm fine with it. At that point, that's when we can start talking about, am I over a Dennis Jenkins hold? I just believe in the talent. And I think from 13 to 21, it's not a big jump. Somebody's always getting hurt. I think they'll find a way to make Dennis Jenkins play those minutes. And if he's getting 20 minutes, he's going to be good enough for the back end of your roster. And then all we need is 30 minutes for top 75 value. And we know he's got the talent. And I believe he's complementary of what's going on with Cade Cunningham, what's going on with Asar Thompson, what's going on with Jalen Duren. I think all those guys can play at their peak usage, and you can still get Dennis Jenkins in there, and he's going to be able to get into that paint in ways that nobody else on the team, including Jaden Ivey, who can get in there, but he can't get in there and do the things that Dennis Jenkins does to make other plays and make the defense pay and command that kind of respect. I think defenses are fine with Jaden Ivey doing that stuff, knowing that he's probably either going to score or do something to turn the ball over and or create a good situation defensively that teams are willing to take. With Jenkins, he's just going to get him. He's just going to get in there and kill him. And that is how good he is. So we're going to be very patient with Dennis Jenkins. Cade Cunningham has surged up into the top 15 to 20. He has 3 games in the top 3 to 4 range. So that regression is somewhat back, 93% from the foul line on 9 attempts in that span. Big fat 33.9 board, 10 assists, 5.7 cash counter, little stretch here for him. So Cade Cunningham, not disappointing anymore, top 15 to 20 on the season. Indiana, Aaron Neesmith a couple weeks away. Quentin Jackson, not yet day-to-day. Obi Toppin out a while, and even Johnny Furphy's hurt. Benedict Mathurin returned, and he's established his fantasy value kind of right away. He's top 60-ish after 5 games. I'm going to pick it apart a little bit, but hey, you know what? Good job, man. Way to get back into the action and actually be productive, not getting you top 100 or 125 value despite the big scoring lines. Mathurin, top 60 after 5 games. We'll just kind of watch that right now. And there's no waiver wire action there, obviously. And if they get their point guard playing or their point guard play figured out, I think this entire team will start doing better. And you've got Mathurin, Nembhard, and McConnell all back. And that leads us to Pascal Siakam. He's been at times outside of the top 100 this season, and he's inched back into the mid-round production. But if he's going to have a regression on 5% from the field and 5% from free throw on high volume, this could look like some top 25 play out of Pascal Siakam in the short term here. So if you got a buy low offer, go make it right now. See what you can do with that. I would say try a top 75, maybe even a top 80 or an 85, and just see what you get. See if people look at those season-long numbers for Siakam and get a little scared and end up giving you the better end of the deal there. Jay Huff inched in front of Isaiah Jackson. Both are producing in the 135 to 50 range. Jay Huff is a 2-game stretch of 12 points, 2.5 boards, triples, 5 boards, 2 assists, 3 blocks. It's classic Jay Huff stuff. If he can be healthy and get minutes, then he has top 100 potential. And that's the best that I'm going to do for Jay Huff right now, considering the struggles both he and Indiana have had this season. And then TJ McConnell has been a top 75 guy over the last 2 games. He's done it in 16 minutes a game, so there's some obvious problems. He had a big game against Charlotte. The key is that he's a live wire right now. And with McConnell, he can be a top 75 guy in a peak scenario for this particular team. They just need him out there. They got to play well. He's got to be healthy. He's got to play like 25 minutes to get there, maybe 27 even. And I'm not sure that they're ready to give him that yet. But for that kind of a player with that kind of a potential, if he can get to 20 or even 18 minutes, he might have enough juice to have that late round value to get you that low high where you can kind of subsist off of the late round numbers until the upside scenario kicks in. So TJ McConnell should be higher up, and he was in my waiver wire ranks higher than a lot of other players you would think. And then Jarris Walker, all the way done in fantasy leagues. We're talking historic shooting awfulness, 30.7% from the field, and the second most minutes played on the team. Maybe it's the greatest shooting regression of all time about to hit. It just does not seem likely. And that's really too bad for a guy that had at least some hope early in the season. Let's get to New York at Brooklyn. OG Anunoby looking at a solid week with his hamstring strain. And then 1 second. That cough button is doing overtime today. Landry Shamet out a while. And the sell high on Mikal Bridges, it's probably past ripe as we're going to get Anunoby back here soon. He's averaging 3.3 combined defensive stats. And yeah, he's more engaged with rebounding and assists. But look, in the 2 seasons prior, he averaged just 1.4 combined defensive stats. He's got this great defensive reputation. And who knows, maybe he's turned a page. Maybe he's a steals and blocks guy now. Maybe he's taking more chances and less position defense and all of those different things. But even with other seasons, he's never really been at this level. And so he hasn't had more than 2 combined steals or blocks since his 3rd season in the league. So this is major sell high territory for Mikal Bridges. And I think you could get a top 25 guy right now. I really do. Maybe top 35. And I think it's a yes in either scenario. I think Mikal Bridges as a top 40 to 50 or even 60 producer this season seems completely reasonable to me. And right now, especially last week, it looked like the world was his oyster with no end date. And of course, everything does have an end date. So Mikal Bridges, sell high. A little slow the past few weeks for Karl Anthony Towns. Maybe you can buy the dip, probably not. Josh Hart is solid late round value on the season. We move on to Brooklyn. Cam Thomas still out a couple weeks. Ben Surratt right there with him. Left ankle. Solid start for Michael Porter Jr., third round value this season. 25 points, 3.5 triples, 7.6 boards, 3 assists, efficiencies or whatever. This is kind of what I don't know. I'm not a Michael Porter Jr. guy. I drafted him in a couple places. He's just always kind of hanging around. This is what you wanted. And now the question will be, is it January, February, March, or April that he takes an early rest this season? And we'll watch that all happen. Nick Claxton, slow week, solid month, hovering now in the top 50 to 75 range. Huge win, I think, for him, and probably a sell high moment, given the fact that the Nets are what they are. Noah Clowney is the most recent player to throw his name into the hat with top 75 production over the last 6 games. 30 minutes, solid, 16 points, 2.5 triples, 3.5 boards, 2.8 combined defensive stats. Actually, those minutes have been there the last 3 weeks even. So he's getting minutes. It's a guy with a stat set that we thought had late round potential last season before he got hurt. That's where I would throw the dart here with Noah Clowney. I don't think you're going to buy into this top 75 production. And who knows, any of these guys could turn a corner in Brooklyn. It is that wide open. They're so equally talented, and nobody's really got, a role over another, and they're just going to roll the ball out there and do a bunch of dumb stuff all season, call it a year. Sorry, Jordy. Clowney, though, with that late round stat set, at least there's something to hang on there. I mean, Terrence Mann, when he was inside the top 150, you're like, Terrence Mann always finishes at 200. Terrence Mann can sometimes not crack 200. This can't possibly work out. Well, Clowney at least has that late round grade associated with his name. And then you got Tyrese Martin. And this guy's been on my radar in Brooklyn for like a year now, and it never really works out, but he had 26 points, 5 triples, and more than that even on Sunday. Even with that big game, he's just a top 100 value over the last 3 games. So it's really tough for somebody to crack the top 150 when it's possible they play 15 minutes and not get anything for you the next game out. But just put Martin on your radar and maybe move him up to like 5th or 6th in the Brooklyn pecking order. Dallas at Miami. Anthony Davis got a doubtful tag, so that's fun. PJ Washington apparently okay. He left about 5 minutes early with a back issue. In his last game, Derek Lively out for injury management. Brandon Williams, questionable low back. D'Angelo Russell off the injury report. Daniel Gafford's been interesting to me lately. Top 85 play over the last 7 games. So getting it done, despite I kind of think that he's the least hurt out of these guys. And they're like, hey, can you go out there and gut it out? And he's like, sure. And we'll see Gafford back on the injury report any day now. As soon as Anthony Davis gets back. But Gafford has this way about, it took him a couple years of being in the fantasy spotlight. And then last year he was kind of getting you first round numbers for a decent little stretch. He has that capability of, the defensive numbers and just be able to get 10 points, 8 boards, 3 combined defensive stats in this 7-game stretch highlights how quickly he can go up the ranks. Max Christie, Najee Marshall, almost late round value. I think you guys can do better out there. We haven't seen a Najee Marshall explosion yet. Maybe it's coming, but I'm not sure. Cooper Flagg still hanging out at the bottom of the top 100. It's like all of the things at once, just 3.1 combined cash counting stats, mediocre efficiency. He's got a shoulder thing, low volume overall, and he's getting drafted in the 2nd and 3rd rounds this season. Is there buy low potential? Sure. I just get really worried with all the chaos happening in Dallas and the shoulder thing. It's just a lot of bad vibes at once, but he's got to get better with the cash counting stats, and he's got to get better with the volume. It's a lot of needs all at once. I hope he can have a good second half of the season, but it does look like a potential swing and miss on a guy with a big name and a lot of talent. So I get it. For Miami, Andrew Wiggins is out. Nikola Jovic, I believe, is out. We got news before I made my notes here that Norm Powell is out with no timeline, MRI groin. Bad news there. I mean, he was cruising top 20, 30 value. Even with Tyler Hero returning, the team seemed built to feed Norm Powell, and I don't think that they would change that on any given night, even with Tyler Hero going off. So I had I had Norm at top 50, just if it doesn't, go top 20, 30, where's it going to go? It's going to go top 50. Now the injury risk with Norman Powell is front and center. And it's possible that he was just gunning for it, knowing that Hero was out, pushed a little too hard. Now you're going to take a break. And that's the breaks with Norman Powell. And it's one of the reasons why you got to get your money in there when the going is good. And I don't think I did a good enough job about that. I've been pretty excited about Norm Powell not talking about these things. So I feel like I've let you guys down. And my apologies for that. Norm Powell, probably move that evaluation. It's a dip right now, so you don't want to probably move Norm Powell. But as far as predicting what the rest of the season holds, you probably want to treat him like a top 65 to 75 guy to account for some of that risk and enjoy the top 50 numbers while they're there. Don't look now. Khalil Ware, top 15 to 25 numbers over the last 11 games, 27 minutes, 14 points, 1 triple, 12.6 rebounds, 3 combined defensive stats, solid efficiency. Khalil Ware doing the thing. And yeah, I know, Bam was out and all of the things, but we're talking about a guy who's still getting drop talked. We're talking about him during drop zones. And it's because somebody will message us or, the minutes are low or maybe, Spo goes on an extended rant about how the two can't play with each other. That didn't happen, but, you read between the lines and such. It feels like maybe this page is turning. And I don't have a lot of faith in Bam Adebayo's fantasy value or his ability to stay healthy this season. Khalil Ware, absolutely somebody you should be targeting to get on your team and hanging on when you have the inevitable dips, because Spo's going to make him earn it. And that's going to be the thing. But you get a picture of his stat set and what he's capable of. 14 points, 12.6 rebounds, 1 triple, 3 combined defensive stats, good efficiency. That's great. A little bit of a slide for Jaime Jaquez. Down into the top 125 range. He's still getting his minutes, still getting his 16, 6, and 6. It's the bad production elsewhere that's been the killer for him in the past. He's just settled into this top 125 guy throughout the years. He took a step forward this season into a top 75 guy. I do think that the Norm Powell stuff is reason to not necessarily downgrade him from top 75, or if you want to move that to top 90 to 100 even, I think I'm with you on it, but don't go lower than that for now, because he might slide back into that old role. It's been about, 3 game or probably 3-week dip. That's not a lot. So I think you guys are okay hanging on to Jaime Jaquez. I don't know that I would buy low, but I think you just kind of chill with that one. And then Pell Larson, he's struggled with his shooting, but if this dude ever puts it together, he is physically capable of defending quite a few solid NBA offensive players. And I think he's going to be able to get into the lane at will. And it's just that shot being consistent. And I think the playmaking and the basketball IQ and also the just the nose for the ball, winning plays, that kind of thing. I think he's got that going for him. And he's in Miami and they love that stuff there. So I think at some point in time, we're going to be talking about Pell Larson in way different terms than we're talking about him right now, which is as an injury fill-in, who, by the way, despite the fact that he's struggled a little bit shooting lately, he's got a wide open ramp right now for this next week. So Pell Larson, I think, should be on rosters so we can kind of see where this goes. Denver hits up Memphis. Aaron Gordon out at least a month with a hamstring injury. That's terrible. That sounds like, we're getting a mixture of peak Aaron Gordon with the realities that he's older and injury prone and that these things are going to happen. And maybe it's just better if they trot him out there, not as a number 2 almost offensive guy. Of course, you got Jamal Murray going on out there and playing extraordinarily well, knocking on the door of the top 20. But Aaron Gordon's been almost as good in such a unique ball handling role. A lot of players these days, big men running offense, but he's doing it in an almost traditional point guard way with a lot of isolation play, a lot of dribbling. And he's been very, very good at it. And that's why you've had a lot of Aaron Gordon explosion lines this season. So out a month, Christian Brown out even longer. So not that Nikola Jokic needed any help at all. He's already running away from the field in fantasy leagues, but they're going to rely on him a ton. Murray's going to continue to go. Maybe some durability concerns with Jamal Murray might cause me to sell high on a position there. Peyton Watson, of course, everybody's top pickup. I don't have him ranked as highly as others do, gone off over the last 4 games, 34 minutes, 15 points, 2.3 triples, 8 boards, 2 assists, 1.8 combined defensive stats, 63% from the field. That's not going to keep up. You add in another week of play. He's still got the 30 minutes per game, but a lot of those numbers come back, and he's just a top 150 guy. And that's my concern with Peyton Watson is we have about a 4, 5, 6 week ramp here where he's going to have pretty much all he can eat. What happens to the peripherals? Does he experience shooting dips? Is he consistent? Can he be like, this is a top 50 line, and it's probably his peak production potential in the last 4 games. What does that look like when it all averages as a top 75, as a top 100? If it's those things and you've got other players in the waiver wire realm that are going to have extended, continuous season-long value, it drops Peyton Watson, I believe it was 7 or 8 on my ranks list for this week, which you can find over at sportsethos.com. Cam Johnson, just a top 75 to 85 player over the last 4 games. I probably need to revise that. Not just a top 75 player, a solid top 75 to 85 player. He's getting you all the Cam Johnson stats. Tim Hardaway Jr. hasn't been a thing. So it's really been the value, from Christian Brown's injury and on down the line has been consolidated by Cam Johnson and also by Peyton Watson. That's great for business. If there was 3 of them having to, alternate nights, that wouldn't be easy to track. Cam Johnson has the talent and really fits. And if he can do this, I don't think it's going to be this level. I would go like top 100 for Cam Johnson. But that's fine. That's great. That's like 8th round value, 8th or 9th round value for a player who's really struggled this season. Hopefully this kickstarts his game in a meaningful way and he can kind of survive later on down the road as a late round guy. But with both Cam and Watson, I'm a little bit softer and lower on these guys, given the potential for these numbers to slip on the over the long term, and especially during your fantasy playoffs for you head-to-head GMs out there. On the Memphis side, Ja Morant out another week and yapping. Jaren Jackson, questionable right ankle sprain. Really getting a feel for why Memphis is kind of falling apart. You can't be on the sidelines yapping at Klay Thompson like that. You just can't. It's like, but it's not surprising. I've seen his pop and Karl-Anthony Towns pop, talking trash on the floor to each other and in situations where they're losing. And it's like, man, there's an ethics to this when you're losing and things aren't going well and you haven't earned it yet. Maybe it's just time to be a little more quiet. That's all I'm saying there. Zach Edey off to a nice start. 4 games with 25 minutes, 12 points, 9 boards, 3.3 combined defensive stats. Great efficiency. He's been a top 20 to 30 value over that span. It's definitely over baseline. Free throw, defensive numbers are very likely to come back. But I got to say, he looks like a top 75 producer if he's indeed taking a step forward this season. So you guys can rate your early action accordingly. Jaren Jackson, just top 100, low defensive stats, bad efficiency, 29 minutes per game. It certainly smells like he's not happy there. And hopefully that's wrong. If that's wrong and he can not be, a low efficiency volume chucker, maybe somewhere in there's a top 50 guy, but that's a lot of maybes and it does not look good for Jaren Jackson. And I'm all the way off of an aggressive buy low there. Now the upside for Santi Aldama came through over the last 2 weeks. It's been a top 50 to 75 run, 17 points, 2 triple, 7 boards, 3 assists. This plays 1.6 combined defensive stats, mixed efficiency. This is Santi Aldama in a nutshell. But this is also why he was ranked so highly in the B150 is this can happen fairly quick for him. He never really truly accentuates or punctuates the run with an exclamation point. It's usually an injury and some kind of a dip. But this is a situation, I do believe this offensive system for Thomas Asalo, is good for him. He's a movement guy. He can get the ball and kind of get into spaces as a tweener that other players can't, but he can do it with a lot of skill and be the grease for the wheel offense there in Memphis. Vince Williams, now the point guard. Didn't think you'd say that this year. Top 80 over 3 games, 26 minutes, 9 points, 8 boards, 10 assists, 1.3 steals. The problem is he's getting nothing else anywhere else. He's an injury risk. We've seen Vince Williams do stuff like this, but I never really thought we'd get a 10 assist Vince Williams. But that's what they're doing right now, and it makes sense because they don't have point guards. Everybody's hurt. So they're looking to make Vince Williams a point guard and see what he's capable of. And I do think they're going to run him into the ground and he's going to break. But he's more interesting than a lot of players on the wire. Go check my article and you'll see where I have him ranked. It's right around, I think, 15 to 20. Vince Williams making some noise. And we saw the regression for Cedric Coward over the last 2 to 3 weeks. Numbers heading back toward the late rounds. Just the 0.7 combined defensive stats. And that's not right. I mean, he'll do better than that. But that's a concern with him. I'd like to see, I mean, he's got these otherworldly physical skills. I would like to see more defensive stats. Now top 85 to 105 on the season, 26 minutes per game. That was actually, I think, where we predicted his value once he exploded on the scene in week 1. Let's get to Portland at Milwaukee. Drew Holiday now dealing with a calf injury. It's ballpark 2 weeks. Shaden Sharp questionable with his calf injury. And I think you're even getting this league-wide, oh, it's a calf injury, we got to take an extra day or two. That, with Drew Holiday, makes sense given his age, but it's kind of blowing a hole in the Portland rotation right now. So what's happening? Well, in similar fashion as just bowling through people every night, Denny Abdia is doing it in fantasy leagues. He's played all 17 games. He's a top 15 or 35 guy in 8 and 9 cat leagues by totals this season. So nobody's unhappy that they drafted Denny Abdia. And really, he's just going to keep doing this. He's got some injury risk. So yeah, you probably want to get ahead of a sell high situation for somebody of real value. I mean, be picky as all get out. But Denny Abdia, I mean, he's really, and you know, for a player that we haven't talked nationally about so much, he's getting borderline uncoverable. It's the strength speed combo, and he's so aggressive with it, and he's got a great passing touch. A player that I think we're going to be talking about a lot in a lot different context as we go through the next 2 to 3 seasons, Denny Abdia. Jeremy Grant leveling out at a top 100 value in 28 minutes per game. I think that seems pretty elementary. Tamani Kamara had a stronger late round value this last week than previous weeks, which were more in the top 175 range. Hopefully, with all these injured players, this represents a little bit of a launching pad for him. Donovan Clingan rolling top 45 to 75, playing in all 17 games. No complaints there. Double-double with 2.3 combined defensive stats. For Milwaukee, the Giannis groin injury, probably about a week, maybe more. Kevin Porter on pace for an early December return, according to The Athletic. Okay, cool. Ryan Rollins, sell high. Top 40 on the season, 18 points, 2.5 triples, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, almost 2 combined defensive stats. Sell high. 50% from the field, 79% from the foul line. That from the field numbers doing a heavy lifting right now. I love Ryan Rollins, but that number's way too rich. You get Giannis back, you get Kevin Porter back, and you're looking at top 100 Ryan Rollins. Well, right now, people don't even remember that Kevin Porter's on the basketball team. He's available in waiver wires, despite the fact that he's returning in a couple weeks, it appears. And by the way, Kevin Porter top 60 potential on a team that does not have people who can score the basketball other than Giannis and other than Ryan Rollins and a handful of players here and there. Miles Turner, can he score? Yeah. He's been great lately. Top 30 to 50 over the last 3 weeks. 1.5 steals and 1.5 blocks are a little bit rich. Maybe these games get junky going forward. Maybe this is a preview of life without Giannis. It's more likely that the last 3 games of this sample of 11 games over the last 3 games, have been more of a top 55 to 75 run for Miles Turner with bad efficiency, with just 2.3 defensive stats. I think bad efficiency and 2.3 defensive stats are more likely in a life without Giannis scenario than this sort of rich 11-game sample. So don't buy Miles Turner as a top 30 to 50 guy. I think you buy him as a top 50 to 70 guy, and that's a much safer place. And we've had a Bobby Portis sighting to kind of round out the Milwaukee stuff. Last 3 games, top 75 to 100 production, 26.5 minutes per game, 16 points, 2 triple, 7 boards. The rest is noise. But Portis has been this kind of a guy in the past. It's not outside the realm of possibility that Bobby Portis needed the first month of the season to play his ass into shape, and that's where we're at right now. I'm not all in on Bobby Portis. I'll call him a late-round potential guy. But, you know, the fact that he's got this sort of what if, you know, in a bad team, bad stat, or good, you know, bad team, good stat situation, maybe Bobby Portis will have something of a kick here. AJ Green, a reliable streamer play. Kyle Kuzma, kind of in the same ballpark of him. And Gary Trent and Cole Anthony are not getting it done. So you can kind of disregard those guys when you look at streaming options. Chicago at New Orleans. So we got Kevin Huerter questionable with an illness. Pat Williams questionable with a left wrist. And Isaac Okoro out with back issues. Really doesn't matter here. Kobe White's back. He's back to a top 40 to 60 start in 3 games. It's all good. Nick Vucevic doing what Nick Vucevic is doing, top 60 season. It's all just easy. Trey Jones and Kevin Huerter, these are the guys who are about to fall off the wagon. With Kobe White back, they've been in the top 200 while dealing with various injuries and illnesses and things like that. It just hasn't been working for these guys. Modest Bacelis is still my story in Chicago. Just a top 90 to 100 value on the season and 28 minutes per game. The numbers aren't like terrible. 14 points, 3.7 cash counters is okay-ish, 5.5 boards. He's a buy low until they crown him. Until Billy Donovan says, you go forward, son, and you can be a 31-minute per game guy, and you can get the ball a lot, and you'll be a top 50 value when that happens. It felt like this was the season to just do that from the jump, but it's Billy Donovan. It's the Bulls. They've been playing well. They've got options. They've got currency to spend locally. They don't have to give Modest Bacelis 32 minutes right off the jump with the Bulls playing the way that they have. So I think Modest Bacelis is a great buy low right now. It's frustrating, and it might be this way for a month or two. So it might be a slow rolling buy low. You might have some buyer's remorse because it's probably going to take a top 75 player to get him. And I think there's some value there. And I would probably aim for top 85. If you ask me, probably a week or two might be the peak buy low position. So you have some time to work this offer. Ayo Dosunmu, top 120 on the season in 26 minutes per game. Kind of ho-hum, standard fare, but I love Ayo Dosunmu. No defensive stats, but everything else, extreme efficiency, good scoring, triples, boards, assists. I love it. Jalen Smith, now a deep league target, top 165 to 190 on the season. He's been much better over the last couple of weeks, inside the top 100 the last couple of weeks. Anytime he does this, he either gets hurt or falls back. But there's other injuries, at play, possibly Pat Williams. If Pat Williams falls out of the rotation, that might give Jalen Smith a cleaner shot at some value here, but at least he's producing right now. On the New Orleans side, Zion Williamson off the injury report for now. Herbert Jones out back injury. Jordan Poole getting closer, maybe even day to day. Kevin Looney, questionable. Carlo Matkovic out for about a week with a calf injury. Shocker. And this team, by and large, it feels like they're getting healthy. So we're going to see the questions about what everybody looks like with this team being healthy. Is Jordan Poole going to be good this season? I don't know, because Derek Queen getting the role that he's got was not part of my calculus to start this season. I was not really factoring Derek Queen in, and I'll just wear the egg for all of this. Like, I watched the film for Derek Queen coming out of college, and I thought, oh, that's all good and fine, but can he do it at the NBA level on offense? And then I saw the defense and even like the shooting, but the defense, I was like, there is no way in hell that guy's playing. Well, he's playing, and he's playing really well. And I'm speaking specifically on offense. He has skills on offense that I don't think we're all prepared for. I think the folks that have been watching Derek Queen through college and the New Orleans Pelicans fans, they're like, oh, yeah, we know. I don't think the world at large knows what Derek Queen is capable of offensively. He plays the Nikola Jokic role with a little bit more like fervor and vigor and anger almost. He whips the ball around almost like a quarterback trying to throw a 5-yard out. He sees a defender pinch in, and he wants to immediately get the ball into that player's hands and create the advantage that way. Tons of dribble handoff, tons of on-the-ball dribbling and isolation breakdown. He's had so many shots that he's made that I'm like, how did that guy think of that at that moment where I had to hit rewind and look? Like, he's a rookie, and he's playing like this. And he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder as well. And you're starting to see that with some of the things he's doing. I mean, he's very vocal and loud. He'll talk a little trash. He'll steal the ball from a player at the end of a game when it's a no-no to do that. And he just went and did it. And I don't know if he knew it was a no-no, but I kind of think he knew it was a no-no. And anyway, he has the game on a string as a rookie on a bad squad that, by the way, got laughed at, by myself included, by so many people, and no, they should not have done the pick protection the way that they did in New Orleans. But I get what they were thinking. I get what they were looking at. And now the question is, okay, well, how far does this go? There's big time Alperen Şengün vibes here. Big time. And the question will be, can this guy defend at a high level in an NBA basketball game and in April, May, and June. Same questions that Alperen Sengun's been going through, but about dating back to last playoffs and dating into right now. I mean, just the game they lost the other night, they just tore apart Sengun on the pick and roll, and that led to their demise. So what does Derek Queen have going for him? Well, he's got pretty good lateral quickness on the first or second step. The minute you get to 3, 4, 5, and 10, he's toast worthy. And that's really, really bad. His motor, major question mark right now. In the back-to-back, he got Dallas in a cake matchup, just tore him apart. Then he got Dyson Daniels in Atlanta, and there were several plays on defense where he either checked out, couldn't run up and down the floor, couldn't keep up, and they were absolutely annihilating him. In that small space, though, pardon me, in that small space, he's able to hold his own, and he's got strength and he's got hands. So he's got a little bit of what Alperen Sengun has in his chase down block ability and some of the toughness features that he'll bring to a defensive equation. It's just straight line speed. And it's the fact that any guard that puts it on their to-do list to take him down, they're going to take him down within 3 seconds. He's going to have to get a lot better shape. And neither Sengun nor Derek Queen have gotten into the physical shape that Nikola Jokic, by the way, who's taller and longer than both of those guys, they haven't hit that peak level of physicality that's required in today's NBA to slide your feet at their size. You get all the benefits of the strength, you get all the benefits of the talent, but these guys, they're not able to handle that on the defensive side where Nikola Jokic is. And that's the difference between a Mount Rushmore player and somebody who might make a few all-star games and make a ton of money, and you build your team around them, but there's not enough defense to win. And this tale has been told many times. And I believe that Derek Queen, and to kind of wrap it up on Derek Queen here, I believe he's going to be so good and he's going to be so entertaining and he's going to put up such poppy numbers. Oh, and there's a fantasy valuation here at the end of this. But he's going to do all those things that people are going to be talking about Derek Queen for the next 5 years. They're going to be talking about him like they talk about Alperen Sengun. And then they're going to finally, at the end of it all, figure out the defense is a part of this equation. But Derek Queen, a top 35-50 pair of games over the weekend. My question for Derek Queen isn't, is he going to have fantasy value? Is he like a pickup? No, he's obviously a pickup. He's gone. He's been gone for weeks in competitive situations. I picked him up, dropped him, and picked him up again. He's either going to be a top 50 guy, or in the last 2 weeks, it's been more like top 75 in 28 minutes per game. He's a top 115 to 140 player in 24 minutes per game on the season. His foul shooting's in the right spot. There's no big issue there. I think what he's going to get is he's going to get 31 to 33 minutes per game the rest of the year. And I think that looks like top 50 to 80 numbers along the way. He will be in the mix for waiver wire pickup of the year. It's going to be big. It's going to be loud. It's going to be poppy. There's going to be some hiccups from time to time. And these back-to-back games, he might not get the 30 minutes. He might get 25 because he can't get up and down the floor. But it is fascinating basketball. And I actually really like watching it. So shout out to Joe Dumars. I will take my lumps, as will everybody else. You shouldn't have done the pick protection thing the way that you did, but you got a good player and somebody that if he can check a few boxes and get into incredible shape, yeah, you're really working with something there. So congrats to all involved. And I do like the fact that he talks trash, and they play in Atlanta on January 7th. So that'll be fun, as noted by both he and I on Twitter. Trey Murphy, solid top 20 start. Jeremiah Fears looks good. I just don't know if it's going to be better than late round value in 9-cat leagues, and in 8-cat leagues, he's already there. And I don't think it matters if he plays 24 or 27 minutes per game. I think that the shots, and especially with this team getting healthier, I think it's going to be tight for him. So it's probably a little too soon for most formats. Sadiq Bey has had a few poppy games. Herbert Jones dealing with more injury stuff. I think these guys might be cuttable. And I think Herbert Jones, the upside evaluation is top 75 in a perfect scenario, top 100 in a pretty damn good scenario. And I don't know if that's worth it to be hanging on for all this stuff. So it does come down to format and what your options are and whether those two things are worth the hassle. And we'll find that out as we go. Houston at Phoenix. Kevin Durant out for 2 games. Personal. Steven Adams questionable. Tari Eason out a few weeks. I think, with the Kevin Durant stuff, yeah, you're going to get a lot of LP. Reed Shepherd. Look, Reed Shepherd's been great all season long, and he's also a top 60 guy, I believe, by totals this season. I'd have to look that up. Reed Shepherd is kind of at the bottom of his potential here. It's going to be interesting to see if Reed Shepherd can really turn it on in these 2 games with Kevin Durant out. But we'll see. Amin Thompson's starting to get it going. The defensive stats are up now, 2.3 per game compared to 1.7 a week ago. General trend across the board, top 50 over the last 2 to 3 weeks. I don't think that's his baseline. I think it's a little bit lower than his baseline, but I think we need to start thinking about Amin Thompson as like a 3rd or 4th round guy instead of a 2nd or 3rd round guy. And in drafts where he was going 15 to say 20, I think folks are going to be a little bit disappointed there. That because Alperen Şengün and Kevin Durant take the air out of the basketball. And that's just the way it's going to be. Jabari Smith settling into a top 115 guy over the last 3 weeks. If this is his floor, this is great. In the past, it's been top 150 or even lower as his floor, and that doesn't play in a lot of formats. This will play, and you get some potential upside if some of these other guys get injured because, again, Houston can't really add players due to their cap situation. Phoenix, Mark Williams doubtful on the back-to-back. Grayson Allen questionable with the right quad. Ryan Dunn hurt his right wrist dunking the other day. He missed the last game. Hopefully, nothing too crazy there. We're going to talk Colin Gillespie. Yeah, we talk about him all the time. And he's a top 65 value on the season in 25 minutes per game by totals. It means if you drafted Colin Gillespie with your 16th round pick, like we advised you to, and nobody else had even heard of the guy, so you just did it, you clicked, it was great, you held on through all of this drop talk, you have a top 65 player on your hands in 25 minutes per game. They love him in Phoenix. The basketball evaluation, there's no question about how good he is. He's going to be a starter level player in the NBA for a very long time. He will step into any volume that Phoenix needs him to step into. Defensively, he's as good as most guards in the league. There's really no problem with his basketball game at all. They love him. We love him. It's top 90 to 100 on a per game basis. There's no rationale for a drop here. Just none. So when you see him dropped, go pick him up and it'll be fun. The same can be said for Royce O'Neal as far as the valuations go. He's doing his damage in 30-ish minutes per game. So, it's not quite as fun as the Colin Gillespie stuff, but he's locked into a role and you can count on that for the rest of the season. Jordan Goodwin has been enjoying the various absences with top 55 to 85 numbers over the last 2 weeks. I love him tonight as a streamer. 11 points, 1.4 triples, 7 boards, 3 assists, almost 2 combined defensive stats, good efficiency. And against Houston, who's got a little bit of a tougher team, though that toughness might get tested in this game, I do like him as a tougher player in a tough game, big game environment. Minnesota at Sacramento. We just have the Terrence Shannon Jr. injury, and he's actually getting healthy. The set waves come in for Julius Randle as the sell high guy. Been mentioning this forever. And over the last 4 games, the percentages have come back. He's hanging around the top 100 after being in the first round for value almost all season long. Top 100 over the last 4 games. He probably has a solid 5-point decrease in both field goal and free throw percentage coming in, other regressions as well. Send me your questions on Julius Randle sell high stuff. I'm happy to answer them. I know this is a big deal for you guys. Naz Reid, the other side of the pendulum, top 25 to 40 over the last 4 games, 20 points, over 3 triples, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, the defense, the shooting, it's all there. Now inside the top 100 on the season. 2 ships passing in the night. Anthony Edwards laying low, top 25 much of the season and probably just fine. On the Sacramento side, Domantas Sabonis out for a few weeks with the left knee. Talk of the town, laugh of the town, whatever you want to call it. DeMar DeRozan, Malik Monk, Keon Ellis, Domantas Sabonis, Zach LaVine, Russell Westbrook, all available for trade. And I actually ranked them in the order of likelihood to be traded. So with that, what do we do? Zach LaVine's a top 75 to 85 guy. I don't think he's tradable. He might actually be a buy low with a top 50 potential. It's a mess, so I don't blame you if you don't go there. Russ Westbrook, 90 to 140, 8 and 9 cat leagues respectively. I could easily see Russell Westbrook having a top 60 season for the Sacramento Kings down the stretch. DeMar DeRozan, 75 to 100. Sell high on DeMar DeRozan. The next game he has, the next big game, sell and get on out. He's probably going to the Clippers and probably going to take turns for shots there and not have anywhere close to the value. Malik Monk, 150 to 175 on the season. He's been a top 50 guy in the past in Sacramento, playing with Domantas Sabonis. it's going to be hard for them to trade Sabonis. It really is. The contract and the fit and all the things. It could be possible you see Levine, Westbrook, DeRozan, Monk, and Schroeder running some small ball. And actually, I don't dislike it if they can get 120-minute per game defensive center that sets screens. I think it could actually be a somewhat feasible way to play the game. Keegan Murray being a big piece of that as well. That might actually be feasible for these guys and might not be terrible. And I think the fantasy values could even be good. So there's some buy low potential for Schroeder, Keegan even. But man, what a mess. It's gonna take some nads to pull that off if you want to try to tap into some of the value there. Utah at Golden State. No injuries of note for Utah. Lauri Markkanen, top 10 fantasy play. That's fun. Keontae George has kind of put to bed some of the questions about consistency and efficiency. Ace Bailey now has 2 weeks of top 115 value. Kyle Filipowski hanging around the top 150. I mean, he's cut a bull, and I guess Bailey is as well. But I think both these guys represent the last 2/3 of the season, and you're going to not want to miss out on that. So I would do everything in my power to hold both players. Yusuf Nurkic, late round center, but he gets targeted relentlessly out there, and he's going to get hurt at some point. But if you need somebody right now, he can do that for you. On the Golden State side, Jonathan Kuminga, no clear timetable to return with his knee issues. Al Horford out a week. Draymond Green, I believe, has been ruled out tonight. So Jimmy Butler enjoying a lot of this, top 20 to 30 on the season. Steph Curry just fine. Moses Moody still a top 125 value on the season after some duds. And even during these duds, he's getting you 3 cash counters per game in 31 minutes. I think you buy the dip here. Brandon Podziemski, 15 points per game in that span, 5 boards. Solid boost from the foul line, but really just not enough. It's kept him toward the bottom of the top 200. I don't buy Podziemski. I buy Moody. And though Green had a really bad start and he's injured right now, he finally had some signs of life. 10 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 cash counters. It was all good for mid-round value. Now back on the shelf. I think if you need to be aggressive and move on from a player, if you move on from Draymond Green, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of risk that he has this top 60 to 90 run from time to time. Overall, I think it all averages out to a late round play and the upside will be low and you can move on. Quentin Post wraps up our 30-team preview. He might be worth a look. Hasn't done much this season, but if he goes off and has a couple 3-point shots tonight, it wouldn't be surprising. Thank you guys. Please send me your questions. It's Question Me Monday. Shoot them on over to Twitter at Aaron Bruski. You can find the links for these shows. Hit me some way, shape, or form. Put a comment somewhere. We will try to get to it. Get to our Discord. Ask some questions there. Make sure you are locked into the app. It's free. You can find it at the App Store or Google Play. That's going to do it for Fantasy NBA today, the 30-team breakdown presented by FanDuel. See you guys tomorrow.